Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Perth County Council meeting for Thursday, January the 9th. I'm Kellum, and I officially call this meeting to order. Clerk to note the starting time is 9 a.m. At this time, would you please bow your heads for a moment of reflection? Thank you. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse, Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. Does anyone have any pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Seeing none, if it does rise throughout the meeting, at that time. Moving on, are there any additions for the agenda today? Seeing none, I have a motion that January 9th, 2025 agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Duncan. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to the consent agenda. There are 35 items on the consent agenda today. Does anyone wish to extract for discussion? Seeing none, I have a motion that reads as follows. That Council receives the consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.35 and approves the December 19th, 2024 Council minutes. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. Questions or comments? All in favor? That is carried. Moving on to item 7, public meetings. We do have a public meeting. Can I have a motion to recess the regular council, that the regular council recess for the purpose of holding a planning public meeting at approximately 9:02 a.m. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, officially call this public meeting to order at 9:03 a.m. Does anyone have any pecuniary interest to disclose? Seeing none, confirmation of the agenda. Public planning meeting January 9th, 2025, agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor Reagan, second by Councillor Wilhelm. All those in favor? It's carried. We have the minutes for the December 5th. December 5th, 2025 public planning meeting. 2024. Move to approve. By Councillor Eggets, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? And it's carried. This time, I'd ask planning staff to provide the report. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you, Warden Kellum, members of Perth County Council. I do have a presentation with respect to the application. It is official plan amendment number 233. The applicant and owner is, the owner is Bernie Neimer, and the agent and applicant is Patterson Planning Consultant on behalf of Scott Patterson. The subject property is located in Natwood. That's been starred just on the map there for your just information. So just south of Listowel and in between Moncton, so it's located in the Natwood. Just to give some council some reference again, where we're at in the planning process. So currently we're at the official plan stage. So at the very, very start of the application, future applications would be required for the rezoning amendment and also the plan of subdivision to come back to council. So we're at the official plan amendment stage. So we're at the very, very start of things. There would be a number of additional items, and then that kind of maps out the future development, the proposal. There's just an outline of the subject land. So the official plan amendment, official plan 233, is actually only for a portion of the land. So it's only for this portion here to include this within the settlement area. So currently this portion of the property is within the settlement area. This portion is just requested to be included within the settlement area. So we would just wait one contiguous block of the lands within the residential designation for the village of Atwood. There's a copy of the current zoning information. So currently it's zoned agriculture. There is some portion of it is natural environment. This is designated future development here. This is a copy of the draft official plan. That's the draft approved official plan. So currently that does show that it's all within the residential area and then the settlement area and then the residential designation for the village of Atwood. The applicants just requested a official plan amendment to kind of speed up the process and get their application moving forward. So the intent is to move that entire property in within the settlement area. This just speeds it up by another year or so. Once again, the draft official plan designation, you'll notice the natural environment block has been amended somewhat, so it's just been tightened up a little bit there, so that's been removed from down there. And then here's the current official plan mapping, so that does show some natural environment block through there, and I'll speak to that a little bit later in the report. Once again, the current official plan designation does show that's within this portion is within the settlement area, so it's only this portion that's being requested right here. Just a draft concept here, and Mr. Patterson will provide an updated copy of this. It is slightly amended through this. However, we're currently showing 52 single detached dwellings, 14 semi-detached dwellings, and 24 street fronting townhouses being proposed. This would be required to be submitted formally through a draft plan of subdivision and also through rezoning. So this is really very much meant as a conceptual design. It hasn't been reviewed by staff. It hasn't been assessed through any technical expertise internally. This is really just meant to be like the overall concept of the property. And we do ask for that to come in for just to give an idea of what the future intensive purposes might be. Mr. Patterson will line out that this stormwater block is proposed to be relocated to the south here. So that's just a minor amendment, just those lots flipped around. Supporting studies that have been provided is there is an environmental impact study, the memorandum that was provided, an archaeological study that was also provided as part of the support, planning justification report, municipal comprehensive review, that was the Watson report that did show for the inclusion of the lands within the settlement area, and then the floodplain assessment and also an MDS calculation and assessment. Speaking on MDS briefly, as we go through the different details of the report, a portion of the property does show it just encroaches slightly here within the MDS distance. However, that's intended to be in the future. That will be the rear yards of those properties located there. So there wouldn't be any kind of structures or development within there. Just a very small portion that does infringe on that a little bit. Then that's primarily due to the manure storage tank that's located on that side of the property. So if they ever wanted to expand in the future, they would just locate on the east side if the farm ever wanted to do that. Just a copy of just a picture looking from the rail trail location, looking across the property. It's really flat right now. There is a municipal drain at the back located through there. So that would be the legal outlet for the future stormwater management location. Comments provided with respect to agencies. So the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority was satisfied with the floodplain study that was reviewed. So the natural environment on the property that's looking to be amendment was part of a floodplain area. So Maitland Valley reviewed that floodplain and also assessed that the floodplain and the development within there was satisfactory to their concerns. Bell Canada, MTO, and Blue Water Recycling also provided comments. And then it did attend North Perth Council on December 17th, and they did support the application and provided comments with respect to affordable and attainable housing also through there. Outlining the residents' concerns, so several residents have provided concerns and comments with respect to the development. Those I believe were circulated to council. Concerns with respect to infrastructure support. So there was concerns with respect to can the village of Atwood take that capacity. Concerns with respect to social services and supporting the community, both with respect to hospitals and schools. Based on the previous application that came forward to council, the school board did provide comments on that. They had not provided comments on this application, but they did indicate that Alma Public School would have capacity for these residents in the future. Questions with respect to environmental impact study, questions on taxes, questions with respect to responsibility for infrastructure upgrades, access to secondary access, existing developments and timing, and concerns with water pressure and high sodium in the area. So I'll go through a number of those comments now. With respect to the future road connection in the area, we've outlined the concept here. So this is the concept of future road concession or future connection. It would cross the trail system through there. It would line up with it. It's actually Mitchell Court. I think we told North Perth Council was Ballantyne Ave, but Mitchell Court just sneaks around there. So that would be the future connection through there. So there is 2 connections to the subject lands in the future for fire access. Staff's comments with respect to the comments that have come in, the developer is responsible for construction and development of the services, so they would be required to put all the infrastructure in place. There would be additional details required as part of the functional servicing report, so that was not provided as part of this application, nor was it required. However, that is required as part of the plan of subdivision and the zoning application, so that would look at water and the secondary access. With respect to tax rate, the municipality sets the tax rate, so the comments was this wouldn't really affect the tax rate so much, but more as the tax rate's affected overall from a municipal end of things, not based on one specific development. However, the developer is required to submit development charges as part of an application as part of future development occurring through there. Once again, no comments provided from the school board. However, the last set of comments did indicate that Alma Public School did have capacity, which is located south of here. The EIS was submitted as part of this application. It didn't find any environmental features on site. It did find some off site, so there would be some buffering requirements as part of a future application and rezoning the plan of subdivision to address those environmental concerns. Planning comments through this, the floodplain study was completed and assessed through Maitland Valley, so they did look at the floodplain impacts, and that's why the natural environment zone was there. There is a minor amount of flooding that occurs in the property about half a meter or so, so they did look at the development. They looked at infilling in that. They didn't deem that to be a major impact or concern, so they were supportive of that. Once again, no environmental features were identified on the subject lands. A small portion of the NBS did impact the property. However, this would be the rear yard area. Archaeological study that has been submitted has been cleared, so there was no archaeological significance or information found. The municipal comprehensive review did support the additional lands going within the village of Atwood, so this does support the draft official plan. And the provincial policy statement and official plan and policies are supportive of the application also. And that's the end of my presentation. It is staff's recommendation that Perth County Council receive the PER and that Perth County approve OPA 233. And I'm happy to address or answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for the report, Nathan. Council, do you have any initial questions for staff at this time? Councilor Trentowski?
Thanks, Warden Kellum, through you. Nathan, thank you for the detailed report as always. My question is about the farm property to the east. You mentioned there's a slight MDS infringement on that operation. Has that landowner made any comments to this application about the MDS?
Through the warden, no, the applicant or the adjacent landowner has not provided any comments, but they would have been circulated on the application. It is around 530 meters away or so, so that's the approximate distance of the MDS arc that provides through there. The future expansion of any kind of barn operation would be assessed through MDS 2, not MDS 1, so this gets a little bit of additional buffering on that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you. Moving on, does the applicant or agent wish to provide any comments or submissions regarding the application? Come forward. Welcome, Scott.
Good morning, Warden Kellum, members of council. Again, Scott Patterson, Patterson Planning Consultants. I have a presentation, but I think it's a lot of overlap of what Nathan's already told you. So I'd really just like to answer any questions if there are any. This does reflect an approval the council's already granted, considering the lands are identified in the new official plan as being part of Atwood. The purpose of the application is simply to advance things faster than what the ministry is going to do. We're expecting the ministry to take a year or more for the new official plan. So this application is meant to allow us to advance the plan of subdivision and the zone change in a faster timeline and bring some housing to Atwood. The current development, actually, could you put it back? Yeah. Sorry. Just give you a really quick update. So as Nathan had noted, the plan has been updated. The stormwater management pond was originally located at the top of the screen. It's been relocated down to the bottom. This is strictly because of a high water table on the property, and we're going to have to bring in a lot of fill to the property to ensure that we have gravity sewer and not have to put in a new pumping station. So that was one of the major changes. It's down to 50 singles, 14 semi-detached, and 24 street fronting townhouses, all of which would be detailed in the draft plan of subdivision, which would eventually make its way back to Perth County Council for consideration. But this does reflect the current plan, which I'm hoping to submit. I was hoping to have it submitted by the new year, but it's looking at it will be next year, next week when I actually make the submission. But this is the current plan that you will see coming forward. So the project is, or this proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement. As noted by Nathan, this was presented to North Perth Council on December 16th with a recommendation for County Council to approve it. Again, this reflects an approval already granted by County Council where the lands are already in the new official plan, and the applications for draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment will be forthcoming. The only other comment I have is just with regard to the actual amendment, should County Council move forward with this. The way that I read the amendment is that we're modifying lands, the yellow, that's already within the settlement boundary. There's no need to do an OPA on lands that are already within. So I would suggest that the hatched area should actually be for the lands outside the yellow, because those are the lands that the official plan amendment would be applicable to. There's no need to change lands that are already within. So with that in mind, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Patterson?
Just to clarify on that, then, Mr. Patterson, is that just the map wasn't presented properly as part of the matter coming forward?
Yes, through Warden Kellum, it's based on my review. I'm happy to hear from staff if they have a differing opinion. But when I look at the wording and the actual figure that's contained later that you'll consider, the hatch pattern appears to apply to all of the property, and I don't think it needs to. So it's just a simple amendment, but again, that's up to staff.
Thank you. Anything else? See none? Thank you, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on. Are there any members of the public in attendance that wish to provide any comments or input in support of this planning application? If so, please come forward to the delegation table and state your name and address for the meeting record. Seeing none? Are there any members of the public in attendance that wish to provide any comments or input in opposition of this planning application? If so, please come forward to the delegation table, state your name and address before the meeting record. Seeing none? Are there any other persons in attendance that wish to speak to this application? Seeing none? So I do have a motion. The planning public meeting be adjourned at approximately 9:18 a.m. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? That is carried. And I have a motion that the regular council meeting reconvene at approximately 9:18 a.m. Moved by Councillor Czenkrowski, second by Councillor Wilhelm. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to staff reports, planning services. That's Nathan.
Thank you, Warren Kellum and members of council. I don't have any additional presentations or discussions, just the material that was submitted. With respect to Mr. Patterson's comment, just the one comment I would make, I think it's a friendly amendment, would be to item 1 of the bylaw. I might just suggest that seen in the hatching on schedule A233 outside the settlement area, so it pertains to outside the settlement area. So it's a pretty minor amendment in my thought would be for the bylaw. So that would be my only additional comment. I'm happy to address any questions at this time, but that would be my only comment this time.
Okay, thank you for addressing that, Council. Again, any opportunity, questions for Nathan this time? Okay, thank you, Nathan. Okay, I do have a motion that council receives the official plan amendment 233-1000 535-777 Ontario Inc. report. And that council approves the official plan amendment number 233 to the County of Perth official plan submitted by Patterson Planning Consultants Inc. on behalf of 1000-535-777 Ontario Inc. for lands described as part lots 16 and 17, concession 8, Elma Ward in the municipality of North Perth. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on our agenda, 8.2, Forestry Inspector's Report. Tyler?
Perfect. Thank you. So through the warrant before council today is the November 2024 Forestry Inspector's Report prepared by Marvin Smith, the Perth County Forestry Inspector. In the month of November, Marvin completed 9 inspections in response to the submission of a notice of intent or NOI and 1 inspection in response to the request from landowner. The information is there, part of the report. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns, I would be happy to pass this along to Marvin.
Thank you, Tyler. Council, any questions or comments for Tyler? Seeing none, I have a motion that council receives the November 2024 Forestry Inspector's Report for information. Moved by Councillor Orr. Second by Councillor McKenzie. All those in favor? And that is carried. Item 9 on our agenda is the Warden's Activity Report. Does anyone have any questions regarding that? Seeing none, I have a motion that council receives the Warden's Activity Report December 2024. Report for information. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm.
Whereas the proportionality of the composition of elected officials from the lower tier municipalities to participate in serving as the council of the County of Perth has not been evaluated in many years. And whereas the County of Perth has experienced substantial growth during the same period, with the majority of same occurring in the municipality of North Perth. And whereas it is appropriate to have proportional representation from the lower tier municipalities, whether on the basis of population or property tax contribution to the County of Perth. Now, therefore, the Council of the County of Perth directs staff to launch a project to be concluded by a report to evaluate how this council's composition may be optimized for appropriate and up-to-date proportional representation from the lower tier municipalities.
Thank you for your notice of motion. With that being said, that'll be listed on the next council agenda. Thank you, Councillor Kasenberg. Are there any other notice of motions? Seeing none. Any other business that we need to discuss? Councillor Eggetts?
I'd like to bring up about our budget and when we do our budget. In past, several years ago, we used to have a separate day for budget, and then we incorporated it into our council meetings. I find that not working well right now because we have so much on our agenda. Like this morning might be a short agenda, but we had 522 pages to read. And if I had to do my budget on top of that, council's focus is not where it should be. So I propose that we, going forward, starting this year in 2025, that we set separate days for budget and we do only budget, and they not be on a council morning.
Thank
I'm
you
not
very
sure
much.
if anyone else is on that page or not. Like, I'm proposing that we have a meeting either January 30th or February 13th. All the staff need to be present as well, and council only focus on budget.
So I'm gonna ask Lori to step in here, but I believe February 6th meeting, that is the only thing that's on the agenda?
Yes, through the warden. So February 6th it is a regularly scheduled council meeting, and staff did not have anything on the list in the open session. There's only one item in the closed. There would be 2. There was another item for verbal update in the closed session, but the entire several hours of open session is dedicated to budget on the 6th.
Are you okay with that, Councillor?
Well, my only problem with that is that something's gonna come up that's time sensitive and it's gonna get stuck on there, and then we're gonna be right back where we are right now. So if there's absolutely nothing, I would allow it, or I would go for it this time, but I think in future, like next year, we need to have separate days totally away from a council meeting.
So if I'm reading you correctly, so February 6th, you're okay with that, but after February 6th, you still would like separate?
A separate, yeah. Yeah.
Any other comments with regards to that?
If I may just check our procedure then, are you proposing a resolution that council adopt, in which case it probably should come as notice of motion?
Through the warden, so we do have a practice where we have tried to have the separate dedicated council meetings, and that goes back to a resolution that was years ago. So we should take a look at that. We have moved away from that in the past. Staff would appreciate the dedicated meetings. For that, we do try to do that. But if there is something that does come up that is urgent, we do have the option of going to the warden and requesting a special council meeting and adjust those. But I think going after February 6th, it's already aligned with the idea that we would focus the entire open session on council budget. After that, I think it would be fine for us to accommodate individual meetings that are dedicated to budget.
Just clarifying that, so you believe it currently is the policy, as expressed by a previous council, that we have separate budget meetings?
Yes. And sorry, through the warden too, so those dedicated budget meetings, I believe, can be on regularly scheduled dates. And generally, it revolved around January, but I think we're covered there. We're good to go.
Okay, thank you. So again, Councilor Agus, you're fine with that?
I'm fine with that. I guess the one thing I'd like to add is when we set our dates in September for the following year, that we set our budget dates then as separate dates.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments with regards to this? Seeing none, any other announcements? Okay, moving on. Council, we do have a closed meeting session. I have a motion that reads as follows. The council move into closed session at approximately 9:28 a.m. in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended to consider matter pertaining to labor relations, identifiable individual, the CAO, and a matter pertaining to potential litigation negotiations in CAO. Moved by Councilor Smith, second by Councilor McDermott. All those in favor? And that is carried. So take a quick Okay, thank you. We are now back in open session. I do have the confirmatory bylaw in front of me that reads as follows. That bylaw number 4014/2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Corporation of the County of Perth at its regular meeting held January 9th, 2025 is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed January 9th, 2025. Sue, would you like to make that motion? Thank you, thank you. Can we get a seconder? Councilor McDermott? All those in favor? And that is carried. And finally, I have a motion that the council meeting be adjourned at approximately 11:12 a.m. Moved by Councilor Wilhelm, second by Councilor McKenzie. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.